Now, I would like to very briefly share an overview of the advanced Cosmosis training. Now, please bear in mind that all this will make complete sense once you have completed the elemental initiations. This is the more advanced phase of source attunement involved in the Cosmosis training. Remember also that this advanced training is all about the ascending-descension process, wherein the eternal spirit self descends to alchemically reside in what is known as the cave of the human heart. The beauty of this process for personal spiritual growth is that it requires no intermediaries between you and Source. Rather, it revolves around you co-creating a unique connection or channel, if you will, with your own creative source. Creative source is the wellspring from which all life originates. All entities, identities and beings, regardless of their expression, originate from this source and remain linked to all other expressions of life through this common source of origin. That is how we are all connected. The combined entity, identity, being expression is designed to allow individual aspects of creative source to simultaneously explore a multitude of frequency spectrums, better known as realms, within a particular creation, like this universe. Now, the sum of these simultaneously experienced frequency bands constitute the realm within which that particular entity, identity, being exists in that moment. Our experience here is that of inhabiting biological creatures. However, this is but one of an infinite number of possibilities for entification, identification, and beingification, if that's even a word. But you get what I mean. Through this process of creature inhabitation, we experience a process of discovery towards a new understanding and perspective as an individual creative source in our own right. The goal is to become fully aware not only of the present realm of inhabitation, but also fully aware and able to partake of the potential which exists within all possible universal life expressions. The individual aspect of creative source within you is alchemically the fullest possible expression of the entity, identity, being experience within the experience of these space-time universes. And it most closely actualizes creative source's potential capabilities within time and space. This is the state of existence which ones evolve into once the entity, identity, being has transformed beyond the evolution, spiritual intermediary or saviour understanding of existence, and has thus removed itself from the limitations which the various spiritual hierarchies have set up on this planet through the complete activation of its own integral creative source codes. This is the level of expression which was coded within the entity, identity, being when it was initially conceived by the creative source of all that is. All entities, identities, beings within the space-time universes are in various stages of this transformational experience, and each are designed to achieve the actualization of their source potential as their source codes become fully activated. The transformational experience is initiated by fully accepting that the individual aspect of creative source within you is capable of direct access to source intelligence via its own internal link to creative source. In other words, the human vehicle, complete with its biological, emotional, mental and soul mechanisms, is not the repository of the entity's source codes, Nor is the human entity alone able to acquire, grasp, or know the reality of access to all that is. It is the indwelling entity, the eternal entity, rather than the human vehicle that is the knower of and instrument of access to the source coding that permits the transformational experience to manifest through the integration of the human instrument with the individual aspect of creative source within. It's a melding process of those. The transformational experience involves the realization and subsequent demonstration of complete acceptance of the universal truth that one's perceived reality is simply source reality, although personified in the form of your preferences. This is a major shift in the nature of your reality. So the initial goal of the ascension process is for one's own individual reality to become one with source reality, as close as you can possibly approximate it. Source reality and one's own perceived reality must become as inseparable as the ocean and its currents. The mechanism involved to accomplish this union of individual and source realities is relatively simple. To learn to love the truth unconditionally. And that's not as simple as it sounds. To end denial and avoidance on every level of your being. And to release the endless questioning and seek only to realize and accept the truth. To integrate all you know with all that is. And that's an important part of this process. There have been many within Earth's history who have experienced this transformation to some degree or another. Not as many as have claimed to, however, and that's where your discernment comes in. Indeed, there have been many schools come and go designed to encourage this transformation. In these moments, the real understanding of this transformational process has all but been lost. Mere fragments of the authentic process remain. While these peak experiences are profound by normal human standards, they are only the beginnings of the true actualization of the individual aspect of creative source within, as it increases its own awareness and seeks to reawaken the remote edges of its form existence. That's us. That's you and I here. The remote edges of the form existence being brought back into that source reality. What many term ultimate bliss or complete God realization is merely the beginnings of creative source consciously reuniting with its individualized aspects of itself, gently nudging them to look within to explore the nature of their existence and so truly unite with this formless and limitless intelligence that pervades all that is. As the human instrument becomes increasingly responsive to source intelligence, it will gravitate to a new understanding of life principles that symbolically express the foundational principles of creation itself. In that way, you will naturally start to live your life in a way which reflects source reality, and that accelerates the process. There are wide ranges of expressions that can induce the transformation experience of the source entity within and liberate the entity from time-space conditioning and external controls. There are three particular life principles that accelerate the transformational experience and help to align the human instrument with the source reality that is within. And what are these three principles? These aren't new. Any real school of transformation throughout the history of this planet has used these. By reorienting one's consciousness with these three principles, we choose to orient the nature of our own reality very closely with the attention that our creative source directs towards us. This alignment maximizes our growth because we are acting in accordance with a higher universal reality perspective. These three principles are the universal relationship through gratitude. Now, this involves the conscious choice to always perceive and acknowledge the benevolence of the universe and its creative source, regardless of the phenomena that we experience, regardless of the phenomena that is involved in our experience. Number 2 is the observance of source in all things. This involves holding an ongoing awareness that regardless of circumstances, everything around us is an expression of creative source that is attempting to recognize its own innate divinity. And number 3, the nurturance of all life. Well, firstly, we have to understand what life is. The nurturance of all life. The nurturance of life is the principle that an individual is in alignment with the natural expansion of intelligence inherent within all life. This is an alignment that enhances the life energy and flows past the individual with a clear intent of gentle support. These principles together produce an amazing transformation in your consciousness and your being. It's the action of identifying the highest motive of all energy forms and supporting the flow of this energy towards its ultimate expression. In so doing, the action is performed without judgment, analysis, or attachment to outcome. It is simply nurturing the energy that flows from all manifestations and supporting its expression of life. This is a profound way to experience life. When the individual applies these principles, their life experience reveals a deeper meaning to the apparent random events which are experienced, both in the universal and personal contexts. Please bear in mind that this is just a brief overview. I'm not trying to baffle anyone with bullshit here. I just want to give you an idea of the depth and the extent of the advanced Cosmosis training.